Alors, je pense.
So I think I would speak in French because we must have the linguistic diversity. So following what Mohamed said in his presentation, who presented the global presentation of peering in the region. So following Mohamed, who presented the global situation of peering with the challenges, in order to proceed in the topic and enable you to hold your panels and find solutions, I would like to present what we call internet society, the index of resilience, the resilience index. So it is a board where we can have the cartography of the situation. So what is the diversity in terms of internet output? What is the diversity in terms of market share, and what does it cause in terms of problems? And so uh, when we have an ISP or not, it is a board that permits to make decisions, and also in the discussions, how do we enhance some aspects so that we can have at the end the maximum of traffic being served, service local at the local point. So I have also the current situation that I will present to you, as seen by the data. What is the proportion of the traffic that is being served to us from the country, from the region, and on the international scale? Starting from there, it will give us an idea of the work to do. Do we have the slide? So I couldn't change the date, but it puts no strain. So my name is Jean-Baptiste Zologo. I am the director responsible of Internet Development Society. And so my work will consist in focusing on the gamut of all the African countries, and we develop all the exchange points in terms of infrastructure. So we also do organize forums, just as the one we have today with AFIF, which will be held this year, and it's also the forum on peering that we hold in Congo Kinshasa. So you are welcome to accompany us for the great meeting of peering this year in Africa. So we also develop in the framework of our people, the communities, and the community networks. It's true in our cities we have 5G in some countries, some others 4G, but when we leave our cities, we tend to reach this level, and there are communities which are not covered yet. So the last point will be the use of internet. So this is what we're going to sum up here. Next slide. Why do we suggest this? Is because in order to change, we must know. If we desire to improve, we must have knowledge. So the information may be there, but we don't have access to information. Or the information presented may be wrong, or maybe because the data that we got collected are not right. And then following, I think, at the second quarter of 2024, even those who did not know, everybody was served, because we had a huge incident where a lot of cables at the same time. So this paralyzed the economy. Those who would like to go to TikTok were a little bit touched, and those who were running the businesses were also attained, and those who were to pay the taxes were maybe also affected. And if that wasn't done, so it created a certain number of inconveniences. But what does this learn teach us? It teaches us, after when we have the general cartography, we see what are the weaknesses. Do we have the data with us? And what could be the place where we all as a community could improve this? Because in the end, the strength belongs to the community. Then how can we contribute so that in a way that when we present the statistics, our countries can be better seen? Next slide. So, like I was saying, the platform called the Pearls. So the address is there. You can go on it and you can visit it. And of course, and you see the data. So in a summarized way, we following the internet shortages. And so you see internet cut. So right away, currently, then I mean you have statistics on incidences that take place. We have it could be pipes outages, and we have the outage of internet for a certain number. Is it possible to? Okay, thank you for removing the video. So we also have the level of adoption of technologies, because whosoever talks about internet talks about web technologies, and is it configured the way it's supposed to be? Because we could have done a great backbone work. Maybe it could be somewhere. So what is the level of adoption? And in terms of security as well, the users, do we have a secured web in the country? The total amount of this data of the country is available on this platform, and together we can analyze it. So next slide. So like I said, pulse monitor, so the technology, the consultation of the market, because when it's only one operator in the country, there are countries like till a recent date, what are the advantages and the drawbacks that we can know? Finally, what is the level of resilience that this configuration takes into account? And so here are the elements that you find on the platform. Next. So here, the platform you have in infra, you find access. So whatever that deals with infra is what we're going to analyze. So the security, the performances, because we can have a good infrastructure, but when we do the speed test or whatever tool of measurement, we can see that the arrow isn't really growing, most especially the market share, because sometimes it is insufficient, and so the market share could be a strain or an advantage. And for those who are researchers, sometimes they love to know how we go with presenting all this. So the global methodology on the web page is open to commentaries, to comments. And if we have improvements to do, of course, you have the opportunity to feed me back so we can improve and enhance the dashboard. Next slide. Next slide. So here I try to have some cases in the world that illustrate differently how things can be explained. So here we have the case of the previous year, where you had in Australia one of the huge operators who was absent for 10 hours, just to say that the shares, I mean, the outages happen everywhere in the world. So money is not here, but it also happened in a huge content provider, just to say that outages can happen, but when they occur, our capacity could be to anticipate and to avoid, and also the restoration capacity is more important. So here they have 10 hours outage, which affected, like you can see, the equivalent of certain in the region. Then the impact on the companies was considerable. But we're going to see this afternoon, maybe during the discussions, the problem, even if communication was not really official, related to a problem which we call, it is the basic protocol that enables networks to have discussions. So we won't go into this because we are not supposed all to be technicians in the hall, but to sum it up, it is the protocol that enables huge operators to discuss within themselves. And filtering techniques. And this outage, it was related to a filtering issue of resources, IP addresses, because the filter was not really well positioned. And so it enabled to show that despite it being a huge operator, there was a lack of resilience. Because, for example, if you have a central transmitter that fails in the lexicology, 1+1 that they love, it is a term that is proper to them. Maybe 1+1 will be available here, and this will constitute the totality of the network. So there'll be a problem of configuration, but also of anticipation of outage that will be available, which will occur sometimes. It can happen with everybody. Maybe in the emergency, let me take the case of our connectivity. In the emergency, we can say open the connection and we drew. So maybe we didn't draw the last mile. We can have the backbone, the resilient backbone. But if the last mile fails us, then we can find ourselves in a situation that if it was a meeting where we had maybe more time to prepare the contribution of the operator of Orange who provides the connectivity, then maybe we would have had the resilience. But just to say that the nuance here, I'm not trying to imagine the loss, but it occurred there. It can also occur with us. Next slide. So after this, when we consider the case of Australia, you can notice here that this index, this presentation is available for everybody. You can find it. So you have the detail like a country cartography with all the elements. So it will permit you to verify if the cabling system was good, whether the mobile connectivity was good. So you have a cartography here that permits you to take decisions on where the problems is taking its origin. So when you look at here, you can see, let's go on the next slide. Please, previous slide. When you went forward, go back a little bit. Yes. So you can see here, you notice that there was a diversity issue on the providers of the providers. We can have the case of Cote d'Ivoire. Let's suppose that we have only one provider. So at the diversity, there was an issue. So we can have a good network, but if the diversity at the output, we have only one submarine cable, it will cause a problem. So we saw 2 or 3 cables that have aged. So the diversity on the cable, so not because other cables were not there, but not everybody was on the available cables. So we can have availability, but we do not know how to, we're not organized for strategic reasons, for financial reasons, or many other reasons. We couldn't create the diversity. So it could be a problem. Then we also notice a peering issue. So the efficiency of the peering was not good in the case. So we can see very large networks, but there are weaknesses that dashboard will permit us to see. So not to take it the way it comes, but we have to emphasize to avoid a certain number of issues. So here is another case that took place in Canada, and it lasted 19 hours and touched 12 million people, directly or indirectly, and the cost on the economy, it was really huge. So here we have the outage, but the most interesting is beyond the outage, can the data, what can they provide us in terms of information, in terms to better understand and anticipate? So here again, we can see that despite we were in Canada, I'm not trying to prepare the dashboard, but I'm presenting here that there was an issue, I mean, a lack of diversity on the market. It means that though they were huge, but there was a problem, an issue of diversity. Maybe they didn't have a lot of output operators, and also the market was not well diversified. So this showed that if we have to stay in a logic at a certain level, it can have a huge repercussion on the service quality being provided. And the day there will be an outage, it will seriously affect. Next. Here it is an outage, I would say that took place in Italy. It didn't really last long, but as you can see it, so this permits to present issues that happen sometimes at the level of sub operators in the region. Next. So when you consider this slide, for those who are at the heart of networks, they love this tool to see where the traffic goes. If maybe my operators, for those who are here, if he's sending me only with this one, and he still have possibilities here, and if we have to choose another direction, then he will let us send me to the tier one. That's good. So this was the case of the first operator, but when you consider the other one, when you are a huge operator in the country, it means we have him, we have the upstream, and then we have the tier one. He will say, all right, I'm stable. I have fiber, I have that. But when the problem occurs, the day the TY create a problem, just as the one that happened to us, if all those ones snaps, we all are in shortage. So it means that no matter the level of availability that we have on certain infrastructure, it's always good to have a policy of mutualization which permits to at least find a way out when unprepared and unforeseen problems occur, just as the experiences that we have. So next. So here, like you can say, there was no diversity for one, and sometimes these are situations where we experience on the when there is no availability, we can understand. But when it's possible to do it differently, we have to do it so that the day there is an outage, we can be able to balance, to have a different service feedback. Next. So considering all these cases, the one that occurred in North America, in Europe, without presenting statistics within the region, I know that so many among us here have already experienced one or the other experience. So the idea here is to say, if we have a dashboard that can enable us to have a better visibility, it will permit us to anticipate a certain number of things, to take decisions, maybe in a progressive way, by solving the biggest problem. And that will permit us progressively to enhance the rural infrastructure, and also to provide a better service, because we can focus only on the backbones. And then we notice that the adoption, the DNS does not follow. And so this will open it to other gaps. So on the case of West Africa, I won't go into detail because I would like us, we soon get into the aircraft and leave. So I tried here to present in a huge plan our region. Then at the end, I will present 2 slides by comparing 2 regions. And following that, I know that we say sometimes I am beta, so I can be beta or something else depending on how you're going to look at me. So next slide. So here in a global way, we have the situation, the way it is presented. So resilience in Europe, we have it at 100%. with some stability that we have there in the services, we can consider 60% is okay. We won't go in depth in terms of details. That Asia has 46%, America has 45%, even though Oceania has is not on this slide, but right now Africa was at 35%. It's good. We have 10 points away that we can overcome others. So let's go to the next slide. We go into details per region. And there is a detail that keeps us in Africa is that we think we are all good. So in this following slide, we can say that here we have different levels. So Austral Africa is 40%, Oriental Africa 37%, in the north 36%, West Africa 33, 33, 31. So why is there an issue? Central Africa, maybe my friends, they are online, there are efforts to make. And so this gives us the mapping and so the details in some details. Next. So here I try to present the statistics per country. This is where I had to find for a godfather to commit my passport into his hand, because here Benin 42%, that's good. Burkina Faso 39, Senegal 38. As you can see, we have different levels. And so these levels, as a matter of fact, seen this way, we have no idea of where to touch. So this is where at the end, I would say it shows you, like I said yesterday at RTCI, we are essentially all at the same level on some certain things when we take a global picture, but the details will make the difference. So when you look at here, the total countries, I was talking about strains in Nigeria, 30%, but I insist that this reflects the data that were published in order to be dealt with. So this is, it can be very good, but if you are close up in your country, in your home, nobody will provide any job for you. So you have to exhibit and flaunt the data. So here is the global situation. So as it's been presented, next, it brings, so in terms of data distribution, this is what it brings. In Benin, I think there were 39, but on the over 39, it's just a very little of local traffic, and the remaining is focused or coming from the international. So this gives an idea. When you take Burkina Faso, just a little amount in at the local level, and the other one maybe from Ghana or Burkina, and then following that, the remaining less than 50% goes to international. When we take the case of the countries, the case of Cote d'Ivoire, after Guinea-Bissau, you can notice local content, but a huge amount of the traffic is international. So just to say that on the basis of this data, we have two things. Either we work, I would say, to send the data on a local level. This will permit us to come to this scale here, and also permit us to bring about the service, which is good. It could be maybe offered in a different way, and by offering it a different way, by the creation of a local content, it will permit us to save in terms of investment, in terms of OPEX, and also this saving can be used to develop infrastructure or the distribution within the country. So this is a little bit the contribution in the situation in Africa, in West Africa, and I think that the goal of our discussion is to see what is the leverage that we have to activate, what are the actual synergies that we have to implement. Do we have regulatory ends that we have to maybe review? Do we need more data centers? I think the following or the continuity of the panel will permit us to do the mapping. So on the next slide, I try to do the comparison to the SIDC zone. We have an SIDC zone. So when you look at this, the tendency is different. There are countries such as South Africa, we do more than 50% of the traffic. I would say more than 65 to 70%. Just taking like that, the traffic is taken is served locally. So the advantage of this situation is that when a cable snaps, when what we experience in April or March, there can be hustle and bustle, but people will continue to work because a lot of providers are locally based. And that which was the opposite is that we have to work to have the local content. So we have to work to have a lot of regional synergies because, as you can see, we have countries such as Botswana who do local ones, but they do more local and regional, and more than 50%, which is interesting, is from Botswana. Then we go to South Africa, and then we pick up, collect more there. And so what is remaining for them to deliver to the international market is more interesting. So the objective of our discussion is to see on which leverage we can propel ourselves so as for the score, for the next score can be better. So as we stand, if we have to take only one sense, we are not paid by one. But to wrap it up, I took it upon myself. So to every law, or not since I can do it by myself, to present Burkina, not everything is good. In Benin, not everything is okay. And we can see, let's see where we can improve. I ask the technical team to present the current situation in Cote d'Ivoire. So this will permit us to discuss on it, not for comparison sake, but for discussion's sake. So here, you can see on first, like I said, you can choose the country. So you can choose the country, but while choosing the country, you can also download the report. Maybe you would like to work on it later, and you can also accept cookies and prosecute. Or you can reject according to your policy. Normally, it is available in French, but here we have the use of internet. And on internet use, it is the individual use, the percentage according to the population. So 35% compared to the data to which we have access. So the realities can be different. I don't know. Maybe if we have people from the ministry and the internet residence score. When we gather them all, we have 37% compared to the African average, which is of 35%. So we are not really that bad. Then we have the transit providers diversity. Looking at this is on the basis of what we have that we can improve. So it means that the current diversity can be improved. So it means that if each of the providers are here, there is a way, a means to improve, which will permit us to improve the global score. So like I was saying, just to give you an idea of where the scores are not that good. So in the discussion, then some solutions will pop up, or maybe in the upcoming policy and also of the support plan. Let's go a little under. So here on the retail distribution, the data we have, I say not to be good, but I don't know, maybe someone will tell me why. But we have an ISP. I'm sure that there are some who will come. So thank you to the team, civics, and also to the entire management committee, Kofi Amon and all the friends. Then here, the idea here is to present how to present the popular contents locality. How are they being spread in the region, within the region? We can have a good site that presents HK, that presents so many things. And the dance from our side, and maybe the content is not from our side. So if we look at everything, so here we are at 3%. And like I used to say, there are things that we can improve, enhance. So these are already existing things, but we can bring them back. Maybe the situation can be different or can differ from the energy issue Moment was talking about, maybe because we don't have data center carriers, we have data centers. But if this environment comes, it can improve this core. And by doing so, it will also enhance the global one.
Ensuite, comme je vous ai dit,
So like I said, it's just to have an analysis of the capacity, but we also do the analysis of all the technologies that are taken into account. So here we have the number of network being received from Africa, from Cote d'Ivoire. So we have the average here, 26 compared to the global average. So we have a growth, and the adoption level, I could say we have a lot of them, a lot of awareness campaigns were also challenges at the operator level, because we have to ensure the compatibility of the platforms, the training of the teams, and we have so many challenges. But here we have the mapping of the situation. Then these are the IPv6. We have receivers who do implement, and so those who receive receivers, they are here. Those who implement are the other ones, and so we can see that. Please, maybe during one of the sessions tonight, from today to tomorrow, we say what are the detailed situations. So I'm just presenting the micro details. I create problems, and people will come and say how we have to solve them. So here's the problem. Why is the adoption this way? Still under the communities or the operators will tell us why is it so. Let's go a little bit up. So we have an ISP, and the average in the country, just some on the SPs, we're at 100%, we're happy. Just to say that we cannot have the SPs only in Abidjan, but we must have a pop distributed within the country, and they can only do if the operators, the distributors have the ones in the entire country. Because if we have to have only one ISP and we pull the cable, it means that operators must have resilient POPs, which will permit to come to this result. So here I can't really see if you can bring it back with Azumi. So here at IP24, addresses been assigned, and then the peering networks. When we look at the SP, how many do we have here compared to the general average? Then we have peering networks at some point, and the more we have, and the better it is for the global performances. It means that if we have, for example, 10 ISN being distributed in Cote d'Ivoire, and we have 25, I didn't really look at it. Maybe Bruce will pop it up during his presentation. We have to work in a way that the total amount of this ISN can be done so that the traffic can be efficient and functional. So here we have the average. I think that you can go a little bit up. So here are the technologies. I think it's almost launch time. Sometimes we say that a hungry man is an angry man. So in some countries, because it's been signed, we don't have everybody. So here we have a good point. We're making a good point. Then concerning The web services, do they support the DNSSEC? Because here we can see that we have a huge work to do, because there is a huge work to do. Those who host, those who develop, and sometimes when it works, you don't want to touch it. I know for those who are already done the operation, you can say, why would you like to change this? Because it's working, it has been working 6 years, so don't touch. So this your new thing, we don't really want it. So the consequences will give us zero. It means that at times we must accept to change, because it is the evolution of technology. So there can be turbulences sometimes, but later we have to advance it, because if we don't have the trust, the security of the transactions, it can paralyze so many, because we do not have a decision today. So here it is adoption, like you can say, the African average is 55%. And so reduce and go a little bit up, let's go a little fast. So also here we have some parameters that enable us to have a detailed mapping of the situation, like I said. And so it is available. So first, I think that will be the last part. So please permit us to see, first also permit you to see all these elements, and also as a member of the community to know which leverage you can improve at your level and with other people or at your level. I think concerning the presentation, there were some slides where contacts are being given to you, like I said. The data that we apply are public data. So if there are parts, you can come on the presentation. Yes, the data may not be that sure, because the one we use, they are not the proper ones. Now we have the insufficiencies. So here we take public data from different actors. So if these are not the good data, do not hesitate in writing to press@isort.org to ask the team to consider some parameters which are not the good scores, and so this will permit us to improve globally. So we also say that the idea, the basic idea is to permit the policy makers, the decision makers, to see how we can launch a great campaign of improvement. So next slide. Now it's not only left to decision makers. We all have a role to play, and I'm going to end like what someone said here. If we understand all what's going on, it will bring about a global idea why certain didn't work. If I am developer or content host and I can't really go on techno in best practices, I shouldn't be surprised if there is a problem, because I have my contribution to bring. So if we have best practices that I'm not implementing, if there are regulations, strains, it means the access global can improve. So for us, here everything is okay. In order for African internet to be good, we all have a role to play, and this is the objective of our meeting here. Not only to look, but to accept and look at what is working, but also look at what's not working, so that we can improve. So that as the next opportunity, we can have indexes that are higher, and of course work in order to promote the local content. Like I said, the content is already there. We have a panel tomorrow on sovereignty and local content. So today we are dealing with digital transformation. There are processes that we try to digitalize and data that are being produced. And this data, if we are in Sahel countries, we have a whole industry, the opportunity to develop businesses. And so business opportunities that we do not have to let slip. So we can connect and go in direction of Mali. I saw during the incident, during the turmoil, there were some from Burkina who left, who and joined the fiber there in Senegal, and this solves a lot of problems. So do we have to wait anytime there are problems? So there are also possibilities with the ongoing events to go through the not from Trans-Saharan project. We can have a diversity, the maximum diversity, so that we can implement the subsea cables. And also, since we are in a region with ECOWAS, so also the data centers, the more we have data centers, and the more it will be good for the SV community. I think that was the last slide. Yeah. Maybe these are piece of reflection, things on which we have to reflect. Someday I heard that a cable snapped, and I heard a number of people who say, why don't we come together and create our own? It has cost. It involves industry. So before getting into that, we have so many things to review. The ship cable, the cabling ships, we have a whole industry. So or maybe there were some times where the ransom came and people didn't want to be members of the consortiums for one or another reason. So if there's an opportunity that we have to join consortium today, the case of Niger that signed, whereas they had the output from the other way. So maybe we can review in another way, but they accepted them to do so. So we also have training because I think we're talking about it in the morning. Qualified training in this domain of fiber. We have to train in a way that tomorrow, in the future, we can have an end-to-end chain that permits to support ourselves and develop and increase our strength. So I think I will stop here. I don't know if there is something else following, but that will be all. Thank you so much. Pulse is available. You can contribute to Pulse, and I invite you to look at him and what other countries are doing. What can we improve? And that in the rest of the remaining time on the forum, like I said, I love to pose problems so that together as in intelligence and in synergy, we can find one or two solutions we have to implement so that next time we can get to something else. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Jean-Baptiste. So we saw the data, we also saw problems. Does someone in here has a quick solution? Does someone have a solution? So, Mr. Jean-Baptiste has talked about the statistics received, and those are collected via some props. And I would like to say that I have Atlas and Prime props, and for those who are interested in having these props to integrate them in their network so that you guys can have some couple of information for making those information for Nigeria or Cote d'Ivoire. It is open, so maybe we are going to have a list with ISOC so that for those who need those props, they can feel free to come to me for that. Thank you so much. He's not giving us money today, but at least we got something from him. Now, who wants to have the mic to say something? Does someone have a question, a comment, clarification, anything?
Ladies and gentlemen, the question I want to ask is, these probes, where did you put them to be able to monitor the data capacity and also generate information you shared? Because for Nigeria, you projected 30%. So I would like to know the source.
Thank you. So basically, should be at end user side. You do not need to have probe in your data center or in your facility as internet provider. So you do not need any special fingers. It's a probe wrap at last, you can put them on your end user side. So but the data we use here, there is also some data we collect from third party, because when you are browsing, I think there is a lot of information who have been collected. So, and those data are available on some repository and we are using them. So it means that if there is no prop, it does not mean that those data are available. But prop can support to give maybe to give something relevant. And if you do have several props in your country, you can decide to make some measurement inside the country. It's like you can decide to check what is the performance between 2 or 3 providers in the same country. So in this case, it really benefits to have probe across the country. And sometimes you have some virtual probes, and you can also order the probe yourself for free from RIPE. You just need to register and tell them to send you a probe and you can deliver it. And usually the big challenge for some operator or some organization is to understand what is inside the probe. So I think the code source is available. You can check it. It means that you can make your deep analysis before putting inside your network. Because the main challenge when distributing probe is regarding security. Maybe there is some backdoor inside, so those kind of things. But from end user, and you can make a lot of measurement. And when you have probe installed, you have some credit, and those credits can be used to make a measurement. It can be HTTP measurement, DNS measurement to check performance, and that's all. Thank you.
Merci pour l'exposé.
So thank you for the great presentation. If correct me if I'm wrong, but you said earlier that it's according to the information that you got that you project these data. Who gives this information to you? The operators. You're right. I didn't go into detail, but you know, when you are in a country, the network operators discuss and they work through the BGP protocol. There are some public space that give a specific kind of information. For example, if I go on information, this public data, I can get it the way I want. So what we do is we collect this information. As we were said, we can have some monitoring bots in some specific countries that we call PDNR. We can also set up these bots in those countries, and those who have set up have access to an interface. Let's take the example of Move or MTN. You can check if within the country there are some losses. So you can do it with the probes, and it's available, it's free. Now, there are some operators all over the world through the browsers. A short time ago, someone spoke about cookies, and she also said that according to the policy that you adopt with the cookies, you also give access to the actors to have service monitoring for future analysis. So we have a team which is in charge of measurements that collect all those pieces of data and that try to show it in a dashboard. So all those data, these pieces of data are collected. And as I was mentioning earlier, the link to all the methodology for those who are involved in the researches, we have a team for that, and they deal with everything related to the improvement of our work. One last person for the mic.
I just want to comment regarding the book in West Africa. And my view is that the more we're able to realize the importance of creativity the early we're able to minimize the impact of the cable Africa. Sure. Thank you. I'm sorry, I'm breaking sure. The question that she asked, so I was able to show the impact of the training in the ecosystem. And we're able to see the effects based on the skill modify the necessary changes in the network. So this reflects in the improved of traffic over the networks. However, we also made mention of the various policies within the organization just designed within the country that affect the operation of the internet connection within the system. Of course, each organization do have their internal policies. So I think those are just thank you.
Thanks a lot. And I strongly support the cross-border connectivity in Africa. And I think, as you say, it should support to improve and resolve some and mitigate the problem when it occurs. So thanks a lot for this contribution.
Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup, Jean-Baptiste. Nous avons fini.
Thank you so much, Mr. Jean. This round of applause for him, please.